Hi, everybody. I'm Judy, the YouTube lawyer, here again with a legal live stream show. So today, our special guest is my friend Michelle Lynn, who has had a lot of different experiences. She attended UC Berkeley, as I did, and majored in biology. Then she got a master's degree from NC State University, worked for a bit in New York City, and then attended Fordham University Law School. So let's bring Michelle Lynn on the stream and welcome her to the show. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Judy. Thanks for having me on the show.
Sure. Thank you so much for being willing to be on the show. It's always kind of hard to find guests, and sometimes people really don't want to be put out there and, talk
Mhm.
about some personal things or about their backgrounds and stuff. So,
Yeah.
would you like to just give a little brief background for our viewers about yourself, like where you're from and what led you to go to law school?
Yeah, sure. So I guess Judy kind of gave you a bit of an introduction. I grew up in North Carolina and, I hated it when I was growing up. So I escaped to California for college. I think Judy made a similar escape, right? Since you grew up
Yeah,
in the South as
from
well.
Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so I majored in biology there. Then I came back to North Carolina to do my master's in English, and when I was there, I actually grew to like North Carolina better. I actually really like it now, even though I don't live there anymore. But yeah, then I moved to New York to after I finished my master's to get a job in publishing. I worked in academic publishing as an editorial assistant for about 2 years. And then I also worked for like a white collar investigation firm for a little bit before I went to law school. I was pretty unfulfilled during those two jobs, and I wanted something more challenging, which is why I decided to go to law school. And I went to Fordham because it was in New York, and I kind of wanted to stay in the area because I really enjoyed New York at that time. And yeah, but when I graduated, well, actually during law school, it was like when I was in law school, there was the 2008 recession. And so basically, a lot of law firms weren't hiring. And so I didn't get that coveted summer job after your second year of law school, which really affected, I guess, my chances of employment at like a big law firm, which is, I think, what a lot of law students at Fordham kind of aim for.
Oh. So
Um,
what did you wind up doing during your summers in law school?
so my first year, I actually did study abroad because partly because I got into Fordham into their part-time program, but I wanted to transfer to their full-time program for the second and third years. And so one of the ways you do that is to do like a study abroad during your summer, and then you get the credits that way to basically be able to go into the full-time program for your second year. And then my second summer, I interned at ASCAP, the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. It's like a performing rights society. So basically, it's like like if you own a store or something, you want to play music there, that's considered like a public performance. So you have to get a license from like ASCAP or BMI or CSAC. Those are like kind of the three organizations that do licenses for public performances. So I interned there my second year. And then yeah, so that's what I did during my summers basically in law school.
Oh,
Yeah.
so interesting. Well, did I get it right that you were a biology major at UC Berkeley?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Were you thinking about possibly doing patent law?
I was considering patent law. Although when I was in law school, like a lot of people told me, like, oh, if you're a biology major, you need to get a PhD, to in order to get like a job in patent law. And I mean, I know there are some people who I think were able
Yeah.
to get jobs in patent law with bachelor's degrees in biology, but I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna, if I like spend time doing a PhD in biology, I'm going to like be a biologist,
Yeah,
like I'm not gonna go to law
totally.
school, I'm not gonna do that and then be a patent attorney, yeah, so
Yeah, that would have been insane. I mean, first of all, it's such
mhm.
a difficult field, but then to get a PhD would probably take you at least 6 more years. of
Yeah, yeah,
education.
exactly, exactly. It's like, why would you do that just to be a lawyer, you know? I mean, no offense
Yeah.
to anyone out there who is a patent agent, a patent attorney and has a PhD in biology, but, you know, that's just my personal opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
but did you get the impression that that's the same for any sort of science where, like, if you were a chemistry major, you would also not really be marketable with just a bachelor's degree in patent law?
I think I don't remember exactly for chemistry and physics. I think, but I know that for engineering, they were like, "Oh, bachelor's degree is fine. You know, if you want to do a
Oh,
patent, if you want to be a patent attorney, if you have a bachelor's in engineering, it's okay." I
mhm.
feel like for chemistry and physics, they might have been okay with a bachelor's too, but I just know like because I was a bio major, that was what I kept hearing from everyone. Like, you have to have a
Wow.
PhD, you know?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's insane. So nobody ever mentioned this to you before you went to law school?
I don't think so, at least not from what I remember. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And what was your master's degree in?
It
English?
yeah, it was in English literature. Yeah,
Mhm.
because, I actually minored in English at Berkeley too because,
Oh,
I think like about halfway through when I was at Berkeley, I kind of decided I didn't really want to go into biology. And so, but I'd always really enjoyed reading and writing. And so, so that's why I did the minor in English literature and then went on to do the master's because my original plan was to do a PhD in English literature. But when I was in my master's program, I also heard about how hard it was for people who get PhDs in English literature to find jobs when they're done. And so then that was why I was like, well, maybe not.
oh,
Yeah.
geez. Yeah, I mean, just spending
Mhm.
all this time getting all sorts of degrees and stuff doesn't really mean much if it's not very marketable.
Yeah,
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 it's a
exactly,
lot of time
exactly.
spent.
Mhm,
Yes.
yeah.
But was it hard for you to get a job in publishing? I thought everybody wants to go to New York City to get a job in publishing.
Yeah, it actually, it was not that hard for me. Like I think it was partly because I got a job in academic publishing, which is less competitive. I think like if you want to work for like Random House or Simon and Schuster or like go into like what's called trade publishing, it's a lot more competitive. I did actually try to apply for trade publishing jobs after my first year or second year like in publishing, but it was tough. Yeah, like I had a hard time finding a job in trade publishing. Yeah, so that's why I went off to this like white collar investigation firm because I was like, well, it's still like writing, and I'm kind of like also like using my brain, and it pays more money too. So
Great. Well, what
yeah.
do you mean white collar investigation firm? Like who were the clients or what kind of work were you doing?
So like a lot of times like we would have I guess like investment firms like who wanted to like do business with other like usually like investment firms or hedge funds if they wanted to like do business with other hedge funds they would have us like kind of investigate like the people who ran those hedge funds just to see like if there's anything in their background that's kind of shady.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually left the firm before the whole Bernie Madoff scandal happened. But I remember when that
Oh,
happened, I asked one of my friends who still worked there. I was like, did anything come up? Like, was he like on you guys' radar or anything? Because that's like something that, this firm probably would have tried to catch. But he was like, yeah, we investigated him a few times, but there were no like red flags or anything. So
wow.
yeah,
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
so
Okay.
that
Well,
kind
just some comments here. Yeah. Debt Free Dad is an attorney in DC. Yeah. It says he was a
of.
computer science minor. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's tough. And then even then you don't know if you're going to be really like a hot commodity as a
Yeah,
patent
I
lawyer
know, I
once you
know.
pass the patent bar.
Yeah, I would say to debt-free dad, you have like a better chance just like, trying to like find a job as a programmer, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you'd probably
Oh,
make more money and have like less debt. Yeah.
mhm. Okay.
Um,
So this person says, is it worth incurring all the debt on earning a master's slash PhD degrees when law school has its own exorbitant costs? Yeah.
I know.
How did
I
you
know
feel about the
exactly.
master's degree? Did you think the master's degree was worth it at NC State?
Well, it wasn't very expensive at all because I was an in-state
Mhm.
student. And
Oh,
like, so, in terms of like the cost, it didn't really bother me. I really enjoyed the program. Like I found that it really helped me think a lot, and I felt like it really kind of expanded my horizons in terms of like, just kind of getting an understanding of like English literature. And it was, and I met a lot of really nice people there too that I'm still friends with today. And I can't really say the same for law school. So yeah.
oh, I see. Yeah, Paper Thin says, I bet biology was super difficult at UC Berkeley. I can attest, the science classes are just all like weeder classes where, you
Mhm.
know,
I know,
you
I
could your
know.
ego will be gone after you take some science classes at UC Berkeley.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I felt like it was really hard.
Well, was
Yeah,
your GPA kind of lower because you majored in biology and took all those hard science classes at Berkeley?
I think so. Yeah, and also actually before I did biology, I actually went into Berkeley as an engineering major.
Oh my
So,
God.
and that was
Wow.
even harder. So like switching to biology was a little easier, but it was still like I think better than engineering. And yeah, I think my GPA was low because of some of those engineering classes I took like in the beginning, and also biology classes too. Yeah, it was pretty hard.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but I mean, you must have still had a good LSAT score and a decent GPA to get into Fordham also. So, yeah. So, okay, well, would you like to tell us more about your experiences at Fordham and what advice you might have to people who might be interested in going there?
Yeah, sure. So, okay, so I just want to say, first of all, I graduated in 2010. So, like, and I moved away from New York in 2011. So, my advice is probably about like 11 years old. So, I'm not sure how
Okay.
relevant it is anymore, but I can
Oh,
definitely
it could
talk
be.
about my
Yeah, law schools
experiences.
don't change that quickly.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can say that like after like struggling in engineering and biology, like law school was not super difficult. Although it was challenging too in that like, you know, um, I mean, I'm not sure how much legal background or law school experience your listeners have, but basically your entire grade rests on the final exam. So you really have no idea how you're doing in the class until
Mhm.
after you finish the class. And so you don't have like any feedback on anything during the semester. So you're just kind of reading a lot of cases, studying, highlighting, just kind of hoping you're getting it. Then you have the final exam, and and then that's basically what your entire grade rests on.
Mhm.
I'm pretty bad at time management, so I did spend a lot of my time studying. I know like a lot of people like are able to do things like, I don't know, travel or like read books for fun when they're in school, but not me. Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think that like if you're considering going to law school at Fordham, I noticed that because I lived in New York City for 2 years before I went to Fordham, and I was living in Brooklyn. And one thing I noticed with a lot of incoming students who were coming to New York, to go to Fordham was that they were only considering like Manhattan as a place to live. And Manhattan is like really expensive, although I think Brooklyn now is also super expensive. Although it was also really expensive at that time, but less than Manhattan. But I would just say like just be open to like living in other neighborhoods in New York other than like just Manhattan and specifically the area around Fordham, because I think it's a lot more interesting, and I think that you also can meet more people outside of like like this your law school bubble, which I think can really help a lot. Um, I don't know if you have any follow up questions. If
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
so where exactly is Fordham located? Is it in Manhattan or somewhere
it's
else?
it's in Manhattan. It's kind of like in this area, like I don't even remember what the neighborhood is called. I think it's near Lincoln Center though, which is like around 59th Street,
Mhm.
and so it's
Yeah,
kind of like on the
Midtown. Yeah.
corner. Yeah, kind of like Midtown. It's like on the near the corner of let's see the sorry, the southwest corner of Central Park. That's kind of like where it's close to. Yeah. And Lincoln Center is where like that opera and like ballet are. So it's kind of like at the kind of beginning of the Upper West Side, but not quite. And then kind of like I guess like where Hell's Kitchen ends. Oh, I saw Brooklyn represent.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, Christian Franz is a nurse who's also studying to go to medical school. So he has his
Okay,
own YouTube
okay.
channel also. Yeah, so
Mhm.
interesting. So what was your living situation like? And was there a dorm or any sort of student housing that you could have lived in?
Yeah, there are dorms at Fordham. I think there's only like a limited number. And I was living in an apartment in Brooklyn. I had like roommates during my first 2 years of law school, and then the last year I was just living by myself. And there actually are like a lot of organizations that provide housing for students, not only through the school. But I personally, as someone who had been out of school for a few years, like I did not want to go back to living in the dorms,
Mhm.
because I just felt like it was too much like it would be too much like undergrad life, and then it would just be like kind of be like, you would just be in this like little law school bubble where it's like your entire world, and I didn't want to do that. Also, I think they were pretty expensive too. I think it was like more expensive than what I was paying like sharing my apartment.
Oh,
So
no
yeah.
way. Yeah, that sounds awful then to be in a dorm situation, especially if you have to share a bathroom with a bunch of people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but were your roommates law students? Because I seem to remember vaguely that you didn't really like or get along with one of your roommates or had some problems.
Yeah, I think the roommate I had during my first year of law school, she was a friend of mine who I had just met like, randomly, like in New York. And yeah, yeah, she just like I think gave me like 5 days notice before she moved out. And I was like, what the what the heck? Yeah, and so yeah, I didn't really get along with her. My second roommate was actually a law school classmate. Yeah, and she actually lived with her boyfriend most of the time, but she just wanted
Good.
like a second address to kind of go to study, or like, to kind of, because she was also kind of hiding from her parents the fact that she was living with
She
her
was
boyfriend.
living with a boyfriend. How funny. Yeah, but that's to your benefit. So you got to save on rent while this person was never there. That's awesome.
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, the dorms were more expensive. Christian says Fordham has two campuses, Lincoln Center and Rose Hill. Yeah, but the law school was at Midtown, right?
Yeah, yeah, the law school is in
Yeah.
Lincoln Center. Yeah, but the university, yeah, has two campuses. Like, one is in the Bronx.
Mhm.
Right.
I see. So this person, hi Google user 33, thanks for being here. Were you both part of a journal during law school? Yeah, I was on the Georgetown International Environmental Law Review and I was a note editor. So not the main law review. I think it's now changed its name to Georgetown Environmental Law Review. What about you?
Mhm. Oh, yeah. So this question actually opens a huge can of worms for me. So
Okay.
I did apply to be on a journal, but I think like I kind of messed up my application. And so I actually didn't get on a journal, and I was like really mad because I actually am a good writer. And
Of
actually, like,
course, you
yeah,
are.
actually, after law school, I turned in one of my papers that I'd written in a law school class, and I actually got it published in the Journal of the Patent and Trademark Society. And it actually won an award for best paper
Yes.
published in
Oh, good.
2012. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, suck it to you, Fordham Journal editors, you know,
Yeah,
you don't
but what
recognize
happened? Like,
headlines.
what happened so that you didn't get on a journal? I mean, I'm assuming there's more than one law review journal, right?
Yeah, yeah, there were like several law review journals. Yeah, and I think like you submit an application and it gets sent to all of them. And it's like I think they just have you like edit something, and from what I remember, I don't think you actually submit any writing, and
Oh,
you don't get graded onto it, because my grades were actually pretty good. But like, yeah, it's like they give you like some sort of writing sample, and you have to like edit it, like, and using like the proper, I don't know, like proper
notations.
like notations.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I wasn't sure like how to do it, and I think I made mine was like really messy. So that's my guess as to why I didn't get onto a journal, because I don't really know any other reason why. And it like really pissed me off. And I'm still like, you know what? I guess I don't really think about it anymore, but this question
Sorry.
obviously made me think about
Sorry, we're
it. No, no,
triggering
no,
your
no,
bad
it's okay.
memories of law school, man. But that is so weird because at Georgetown, as well as at a lot of law schools that I know of, the
Mhm,
process to getting on a law review, it started right after your 1L final exams were over, and we were all given this gigantic packet of papers where you had
mhm,
to read through tons and tons of case law and write some sort of persuasive, maybe it was an appellate brief, I can't even remember, but we definitely had to write a paper based
yeah,
on the packet that we were given. And then it was
mhm.
due by a certain time, maybe within a week. And then after that, then I'm sure all the law review editors all had to get together and grade all of the submissions. And then you would find out if you even got on any of the law reviews. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it is quite possible I had to write something, but I don't know. I really don't remember. It's been like so long. Like I just
Yeah.
remember that the editing part. Yeah, that's all I
Mhm.
remember. So if there are any like Fordham law grads listening and they're like, "She's wrong. You did have to write something." Sorry, maybe I did. I just don't remember. Okay.
Yeah, you've deliberately forgotten
Yeah.
it, erased it from your memory because it's so irrelevant to your life now. Yeah, and that is what's frustrating. It's another thing about law school, like, they make you jump through all these hoops and stress you out over all these things, but then ultimately it has very little correlation to what you would do in real life as a lawyer. So,
Yeah, yeah,
I feel
exactly.
like we spent so much time, like doing these like blue book citations and
Mhm,
digging through all these this was before so much stuff was available online, so I remember
mhm,
going to the law library and having to like double check all the citations for this professor's really boring law review journal
mhm,
submission to just make sure that everything he cited to really did say what he claimed it said. And it was very,
mhm.
in my opinion, it was a very poorly written law review article, and it was a real snooze. But I had to do it, and you don't get paid to do this, but you're
Mhm.
basically unpaid doing work
Yeah.
for a law journal to help
Mhm.
professors earn their
Right,
laurels.
right.
Yeah.
Do
So
you, do you feel like it's, do you feel like a Blue Book citation is relevant for you now, like, when you have to write, I don't know, briefs
no.
or something for, like,
No, I don't even have my blue book anymore, and if I do need to cite to case law, well, you just look at the way the case is already cited within
Mhm,
cases, so you don't really need to look up. It's like, well, how do you abbreviate commission? What is the proper
mhm.
the proper abbreviation for commission, or, school systems, or, some like big word. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very irrelevant to what I do in real life. Yeah. But
Mhm,
Serena is here. Thank you for being here. And Serena, as far as I know, she is working as a paralegal in New York
mhm.
City and hopes to
Okay.
apply to law school. So she says, I'm in New York City. I visited Fordham once. It's such a reputable school in New York. I wonder why you chose law school and why you went part time if you haven't gone through this.
Yeah, so hi Serena. So I chose law school because I was feeling pretty like unchallenged and unfulfilled in my in my jobs that I had in New York before I went to law school, and so I kind of gravitated towards law school because it seemed something that would be challenging and interesting, and so that's and I also thought like Judy was mentioning, like, oh, maybe I could use my biology degree too and do patent law. And I went part time because at the time when I applied, I was working, and so I thought, oh, maybe I can work and go to school at the same time. But I actually ended up leaving my white collar investigation job like about a couple of months before I went to law school. And then I was trying to work during my first semester, but I got like really sick. I think I caught like some cold, which turned into bronchitis. It actually happens a lot when I am at school, like because it happened when I was in undergrad too. And then I just couldn't work because I was just so sick. I was like sick like almost the entire semester. So
Oh,
yeah, so then I was just like, oh gosh, okay, forget it. And then I switched to full time the second year because of that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Does that
I
answer your question? I hope.
Yeah, I guess
Your
so.
your
So was it
response.
hard? I mean, was it hard switching from part-time to full-time, or did the school just allow you to do it because you asked to?
Yeah, I think like a lot of students who start in the part-time program, like they do switch to full-time, just so they can graduate earlier and probably pay less money too. And this, I think they charge you like an early graduation fee, and I think I had to pay like $1,000 or something extra, like for this early graduation fee. And then, yeah, they had like two options. I think one was like to do this study abroad your first year and then take like I think it was civil procedure and constitutional law, which are normally 1L classes. They wanted you to take that the first semester of your 2L year. Yeah, and I think another option would be to like stay in New York and do an internship over the summer and take like civil procedure or constitutional law over the summer, and then in the fall to take like one of those two classes that you didn't take over the summer. That those were kind of like the two options they offered for early graduation. Yeah,
So
and
where
it wasn't very difficult. Yeah, in terms of like, you know, like the transition. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice to know. Yeah, so where did you go for your study abroad program?
I did a study abroad in Florence in Italy and then one in Salzburg in Austria.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Mhm.
sounds like fun. Were you there only with Fordham students, or were there other students from other schools?
So the programs I did weren't through Fordham. So I was mostly there
Oh,
with students from like from other schools. Yeah.
mhm,
And I think the one in Salzburg, there was one student from my school who was there too. Yeah.
mhm.
And I think the main reason why I did that Salzburg one was because, well, I guess he's not there on the Supreme Court anymore, but Anthony Kennedy actually taught one of the classes there. So that was partly why I took it.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
so prestigious. I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun. What an
Yeah,
experience.
it
Yeah.
was interesting. It was a fun experience. Yeah, because I was just like at that time I was just like, well, I don't really know how much, I'll have an opportunity to like really travel a lot after I become a lawyer. So, if
Mhm.
this is one of the ways to, graduate early, that's why I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so Paper Thin says, have you worked in a law firm before? If not, do you want to go back to law?
Yeah, so a good question. So I did do internships at law firms like when I was in law school, like during my second semester of my 2L year, I did intern at a law firm in New York, and I actually had an offer to go there for the summer too, but I decided to do the internship at ASCAP instead. And yeah, so I at this point in my life, I'm not really sure if I want to go back to law. I feel like if I did, I probably would do nonprofit law, like to work at a nonprofit, because I feel like at this point, um, I if I wanted to use my law degree, I would want to use it to help people. So I wouldn't want to like work at a law firm or at a company. Not that they would hire me anyway, but with the
Oh,
little experience I have. But I feel like I would rather like work at a nonprofit if I were to go back to law. Mhm.
mhm. Do you still have your law license?
I do, yeah. I'm still registered with a New York bar. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's
Mhm.
really impressive. But can you tell us more about I thought there was a firm that you worked for in New York for a while where they did do something like patent law or intellectual
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, it's the law firm I mentioned that I worked at during my
Uh-huh.
second semester of my 2L year. Yeah, it was actually in Westchester, which is like this kind of area north of New York, north of the city. And yeah, it was like a small IP law firm. And it was actually a pretty nice experience. I enjoyed working there. Yeah. But I think I felt like they were putting too many demands on me as a student. Like they wanted me to work like during my finals week and things like that. So
Oh, come on.
I was just like, okay, you know what? No, I'm leaving. So
Yeah, that
yeah.
is ridiculous. I mean, you're a law student, you need to get your good grades on your exams. Yeah, seems
Mhm.
like they were a
Right,
little
right,
unreasonable.
exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's see. So she says, "Assign to you Fordham Lodger." Yeah. Um, Law
Thank
school should
you.
be 18 months, then a 6-month externship, lots of laughter, really. Yeah. Well, how do you feel about that? I mean, I agree. I mean, I feel sorry for people who have to stretch out law school for 4 years because they're part-time law students or something. Man, that's
Yeah,
a
I
long
know.
time.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's too long. I don't know why it has to be 3 years. And I do think that that you should have like some sort of, outside experience provided by the school, like arranged by the school, before you go off to practice law, before you take the bar exam. Because I know, like, I know I heard about this a lot before I went to law school that, it doesn't really prepare you to practice law. And I just really feel if law school is like emphasized, the practicing side of law, it would really help a lot. And it would also help it'd help law students gain more confidence. I know that some law schools do that. Like, I know that another school I got into, I was considering the College of William and Mary. I know
Yeah.
that they place their students with local law firms so that they can get experience working there. And I think it really helps their students develop a lot of confidence. But Fordham didn't do that. I don't know, maybe they do now, but they didn't do it when I was there. But I agree with you, debt-free dad.
Yeah, I mean,
It
it would
is too
definitely save
expensive
people
currently.
money or at least give them some real life skills so they
Mhm,
can, you know, be more of an asset to future employers or actually know what they're a little bit know a little bit
mhm,
more about what the real practice of law is like. Yeah.
mhm.
Okay. So it sounds like financing of education was never a concern for this guest. What such a wonderful blessing. Well, I mean, this was. I mean, we're both kind of older, so back when we went, school was actually a lot more affordable. Like one of my live stream guests was a professor from Washington University Law School, Brian Tamanaha, and he said his law school tuition was $5,000 a year to go to Boston University Law School. But of course, I was like, what was this, the early 80s? And he was like, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Because these days people cannot just work during the summer and pay all their tuition for a year's worth of law school. The
Yeah,
prices
I
have just
know.
skyrocketed.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, it was expensive when I was there, but I bet it's even more expensive now. And I actually did have to take on debt to go to law school, and I still have law school debt. I think I paid about half of it off, but yeah, it's still there. I wish that it had not been a problem for me, but yeah, I did have to go into debt to pay for law school. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked it up. So Fordham, when you include whatever fees they have, it turns out to be close to 67 or 68,000 a year now, which is
Yeah, that's
ridiculous.
that's a lot more expensive than when I was there.
Yeah. Do you ever get turned down for being overqualified? I think that having any legal qualifications at all makes you super valuable. Do people ever envy the JD? But you didn't apply for job. Well, actually, you have applied for jobs, right? Since law
Mhm.
school, or were you always an
Yeah,
entrepreneur?
I think that, well, when I first graduated from law school, I was applying for a lot of both legal and non-legal jobs, and I remember applying for several non-legal jobs, like I think a legal journalist, and I think I also applied for a job at the New York Public Library, like working, and I think you didn't have to have a JD, but it was like a lot of the job description had to deal with like getting permissions for things. But yeah, I like never. I think I never heard back from the New York Public Library, and
Oh,
I wondered if it was because they thought I was like overqualified. Yeah, and I think
yeah.
this with this legal journalist position, I remember I think they had me like take some sort of qualifying like test, and I did it like the day after I took the bar exam.
Oh,
And like I
man.
think part of it was like they gave me some questions from like some sort of like sample LSAT, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like I just went to law school, you're giving me like LSAT questions to answer as part of your exam. And then I think I had to like write some headlines or like something like that, but then I didn't hear back from them, so I was like, okay, whatever. but
Oh,
um,
that's
but yeah, I
frustrating.
yeah, I think aside from that, I didn't really I didn't really apply for any jobs because like pretty soon after that I moved to Montreal. So and then so that was kind of when I started my entrepreneur journey, and like I
I
haven't
see.
really, yeah, applied for anything, I guess, until recently since then. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I see. Yeah, so, so you got married during law school, right?
No, I got married after, like about a year
Oh,
after I finished law school. Yeah.
mm, I
Yeah,
see. Yeah.
so like after law school, I worked for one of my law school professors, and I was also like working part-time in retail, and also like kind of starting my greeting card business. And then my boyfriend slash fiance got a job in Montreal, so we moved there like about like in June 2011, which was like about a year after I finished law school. And then when that happened, I was just like, I kind of looked at the requirements for, what you needed to do to be a lawyer in Montreal, or like in a different country. And I was just like, okay, just forget it. Like, because I think they had like, I think they wanted you to take like more classes. I think like it would be like another 2 to 3 years of studying. And
Wow.
I
Yeah.
didn't even know if we were going to stay in Montreal, or in
Mhm.
Canada. And I think my mom was like really pushing me to do it. But then I talked to my husband, and he was like, well, I don't want you to do like another long course of study and then be still unhappy at the end of it. So that was when I decided to kind of like jump into this greeting card stationery design business full time and try to see if I could get that off the ground. Yeah, since I kind
Yeah.
of practice law in Montreal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you had no control over what happened to you because, you had to go where your husband got his job, right?
Mhm.
So,
Right, right.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, here's an interesting question. Since you said you graduated during the economic recession, were a lot of your classmates not getting job offers?
That's a good question. I know some of them got job offers, and then some of them got job offers that were later rescinded. And then like a lot of people
Oh,
were in like a situation like me where we just graduated law school without a job. Yeah. I think that because I think when we interviewed for our 2L summer positions, it was like during the fall of 2008. So it was kind of like right before the really big really big blow. And so a lot of people were offered, like, a lot. I'm actually not sure because I didn't really talk to a lot of people in law school, but
yeah,
I know people were offered jobs. And I know that like a lot of them had several jobs to decide between, but I also know that a lot of people did not get job offers for their 2L summer. Yeah. I don't know about the exact numbers, but I do know that there were people who graduated law school without a job, like me.
I
Yeah.
see. Well, what about that place you said you had a summer internship with, was it ASCAP or ACAP or something, the nonprofit group? Like,
Yeah.
were you trying to get a job with them or were they not hiring?
I was not trying to get a job with them. I just don't think they like. I knew how big their legal department was, and I just knew that there was not really like room for expansion. Yeah.
Oh,
But I worked with them because I enjoyed the workplace, and I enjoyed my colleagues there and supervisors. So yeah, I actually interned with them like during the fall of my 2L year, and then I worked at that law firm in Westchester, the IP law firm, during the following spring, and then I went back to ASCAP the following summer. Sorry, that's kind of confusing.
okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. I kind of had a feeling there was not room for another lawyer there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like they had lots of job openings or whatever for attorneys. I see. Okay,
Mhm.
so Dr. Seth Talks Money has a PhD. So her YouTube channel focuses on finance. And she says it's similar to a PhD, too much fluff required to get the degree, but snooty professors think the degree is prestigious if they require all the fluff stuff. Yeah, I think so because they make you jump through so many hoops. There's like so much work to do, especially if you get on one of those law journals or you're doing clinic or whatever. So
Mhm.
really, it's like having an additional part-time job, but you're not getting paid money because you're doing all this work
Mhm.
for the law journal or whatever, doing internships that are usually unpaid. So,
Yeah, yeah,
mhm.
yeah, and I know, like, a lot of graduate students, especially in the humanities, get, like, taken advantage of and mistreated too. Although I will say, I bet that, people who are in a PhD program are a lot nicer than people who go to law school. Just my personal
Really?
opinion. I don't know.
Really?
What
I
do you
thought it was
think?
cutthroat. I don't know, from what I've heard, you can get in a PhD program and get in a spat with your advisor or, there's so many
Mhm.
egos involved and people that are
That's
not there to support you.
that's true. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess they were, like, jerks everywhere, so
Well, tell me more. I mean, it sounds like you didn't like the people at law school at all. So can you give more examples of why you didn't really like the people at law school or didn't really make good friends in law school?
Yeah, well, I think that, I mean, okay, I know it sounds like I'm, like, talking trash,
It's
but
okay.
I
It's
think that
okay.
well,
But we
part of
want to
the
hear the truth.
okay, so part of the problem was probably me as well, because I kind of, like, was very, standoffish, I think, and, I
Mhm.
think it was only, like, especially my first year, and I think it was only later that I kind of, like, warmed up because I think it was because I just heard so many horror stories about how awful law students were that I just didn't wanna, like, open up and let anyone in, you know? And there were, people there who were just, like, really annoying and always talking about how, like, "Oh, they didn't study, but, I don't study at all, but I still make straight A's, blah, 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 blah." It's like, "Yeah, right." And I think that, there's, like I'll say this comparison that, like, law school is a lot like high school, which is, like, pretty true, except and that's also, like, why I didn't wanna, like, be in this kind of, like, law school bubble, and probably another reason why I was kind of, like, trying standoffish and not trying to, like, surround myself with just law school people. There were nice people there, like, I did meet some nice people, but I just always felt like, I don't know, with the exception of, like, one person, I always felt like, even if someone was, like, nice and friendly, there was just always this kind of undercurrent of competition, And, like, people who are just, like, like, you might think that it was just, like, for me, it's just really hard to trust people, you know? Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. If you have any
Yes,
follow-up
yes, because
questions, I'm happy to
exactly.
answer them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because, everybody keeps hearing that if you really want a shot at the best jobs, you need to be in the top 10% of your class or at least a top 20% or so. And so there is that total competitive feel to being
Mhm.
there. And yeah, I mean, to me, going to Georgetown Law School, people just were not as I mean, people weren't as laid back. Everybody was so focused, and it was a big school, so you didn't really get to know people, and we didn't have our own real campus because the Georgetown Law School is totally separate from the main Georgetown University. So
Oh,
most of
okay,
the
I
people
didn't know
didn't even
that.
live near the school. Yeah, so that's why, I didn't make a ton of friends either in law school. So it's not
Mhm.
like college at all, where people are a lot more sociable and laid back and just hanging around the campus and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and
So
it's like
was the
go ahead,
oh,
sorry.
was the law school actually on the same campus as the undergrad campus, or was it
Yeah.
separate?
It's, like, in on the same campus. Yeah, I think, like, Lincoln Center is kind of like one, big building, I guess, and then but the law school entrance is kind of the undergrad entrance is, like, a different place than the law school entrance. The law school entrance is kind of off to one side, and then, like, there's, like, that area is just the law school, but it's, like, connected to the undergrad, part of
Mhm.
Lincoln Center, of Fordham University Lincoln Center. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. So paper thin asked, "Do you regret going to law school?" Seems like a lot of people going to law school ended up doing something else. Why is that?
Okay, so yes, I do regret going to law school. I think that, I probably would have been fine without going to law school and probably in a better financial situation. And I was actually reading this book recently. I forgot the author, but the book is called The Power of Regret. And it talks about how, a lot of, like, especially in America, people, or I guess around the world, but people have this mindset, like this kind of no regrets mindset. And it's actually very similar to like this kind of toxic positivity attitude, because by saying you have no regrets, you don't really reflect on your experiences and you don't really learn from them. And the book also talks about how, people tend to regret the things that they didn't do more than the things that they did do. And of course, I am in the minority here, since, going to law school is something that I did do and that I did regret. And I think like what this guy talks about is like, if, he talks about like kind of strategies for managing regrets. And like one of the strategies for like regretting something that you did is like, he basically says, you can just use the at least strategy. So, yes, I regret going to law school, but at least I have a law degree. At least I can say I'm a lawyer. And, it's actually been like, beneficial for me in different ways. Like, for example, my husband is from Russia. So I had to do all of his immigration paperwork, and,
Cool.
since I have a law degree, then I didn't have to hire an immigration attorney. I did it
Yay. Yeah.
myself. So, I regret going to law school, but at least I didn't have to hire an immigration attorney and I could do my husband's
You can
immigration
figure it
paperwork.
out.
Yeah. And like it's been useful for me in business too, because I applied for my own trademark. I you know, recently had to send a cease and desist to someone who is using the name of my company. And so, it's like, yeah, at least I didn't have to hire a trademark attorney to do all that, since I
Oh,
have a law
interesting.
degree. Yeah. And yeah, I think that like I can't, for this paper thins question about like why people end up doing something else. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I mean, I know for me, it was just like a combination of, just different life circumstances, just not getting a job, partly because of the recession. Maybe it was also partly because of my personality. I don't know. I'm pretty soft spoken. So maybe a lot of people just thought I wouldn't be like, an effective attorney. Um, and I was just too quiet. And also, then my husband got the job in Montreal, so then I couldn't practice law. So it's just like kind of a combination of a bunch of life circumstances to why I didn't. And it was also there was a recession too. But yeah, like so, just a kind of combination for me about you know as to why I didn't um, practice law. I think like also just in general, like I feel like for other people, it just could be that like, there just aren't that many jobs for attorneys available.
Yeah.
Or, but this is another thing, and I don't know, maybe you know more about this than I do, Judy, because I feel like there is a lot of need for attorneys for like, I don't know, like just the general population. Like, I don't know, people who need immigration attorneys, like who want to bring their family members over, or people who are like kind of like I guess like a lot of middle and low income people. There's like a lot of need for attorneys there, but not really a whole lot of attorneys. And I don't know. I think maybe it's partly because law schools don't really emphasize practical skills, and so a lot of people in law school have this idea that they need to go to a big firm after law school, and but then there are only a limited number of jobs there. So and then it's like if you want to be a lawyer at like a company, or like whatever, they require you to work for a law firm for several years. But it's like, how can you do that if like the law firms aren't hiring? So I don't know, maybe you know more about this than I do, Judy. That's just
Um,
my
well, I mean,
yeah.
sure, because, both of us have known plenty of other lawyers or people with law degrees where things didn't really go their way or things didn't work out as planned. And what you're saying is so true that I mean, it's not just wanting a big law job, but I feel like with the huge, huge expense of law school now, where even
Mhm.
public schools like UC Berkeley's law school cost more than $44,000 or more for tuition a year now, you almost feel like you have to get a big law job in order to pay off your debt and make it worthwhile. I mean, people shouldn't
Mhm.
be taking out 200,000 or $300,000 worth of debt to come out and be a government attorney making 75,000 a year. I mean,
Mhm.
it just financially doesn't seem like common sense, to spend so much money and then you come out making less than what a lot of people with a community college certificate or 4 years of undergrad could be making. So,
Mhm.
yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta kind of weigh the costs versus the likelihood of it being worth so much debt if your family's not going to be paying for you to go to law school. So,
Mhm.
um, and then another thing you mentioned, like you thought that maybe it was because you're so soft spoken that maybe that didn't help you on the job market. But then on the other hand, you went in there thinking that maybe you would do patent law. So I think what you're giving out there is really, really valuable information because a lot of people probably thought that having a biology major, especially from UC Berkeley, would mean that you would have a great shot at being a patent lawyer. So I had
Mhm.
but I have heard that also that, a biology degree, Bachelor of Science degree is not really given much respect. And, hopefully in the future, one of my friends who is a patent lawyer in Atlanta will come on the show and he can talk to us more about, is patent law saturated or, how to
Mhm.
get a job as a patent lawyer? Because
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
information that so many people don't understand. They think that, oh, I have a science degree. That means I'm going to be more marketable than all those regular Joe Schmo people with a JD because
Yeah,
that sets them
yeah.
apart when they can take because you can take the patent bar exam. It's just a matter of, but are the firms going to really think that you're special or want to hire you with a bachelor's degree in bio?
Yeah. Yeah, and I do wanna say that there are people who have, like, bachelor's degrees in biology who are able to find jobs as patent lawyers or patent attorneys, but, it's just, like, those are more like the exceptions rather than the rule. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, I just know, like, knowing my luck, like, I'm not one of those people.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
totally, because I've seen some people who don't even have science backgrounds, but yet somehow they're doing copyright law, because I guess you don't need to have a patent bar
Yeah.
license to do copyright law. So I'm like, well,
No.
they must have had some friends in high places, or people from New York law school that managed to get, bigger firm jobs and stuff. And it's like, well, you probably had some connection that helped you get that job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Some people
Let's
are
see.
just lucky or yeah, know how to, like, leverage their
There's
situation. Yeah.
Yes, or maybe they have some alumni connection or, family friend or whoever that helps them get the job. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, okay. So Dr. Sev says a PhD program does have some egotistical jerks. Yep, I knew it because I've definitely heard of that. I learned to do exactly what they tell me to do, even if I disagree, just so I can be done with the degree and get out of there. Lots of laughter. Oh my. Okay. Well, congratulations on getting your degree, and
Yeah,
I hope you feel it was worth it.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you guys all for being here and asking such good questions. Ace Bill says this is a super, really relevant topic for me. Fordham is one of the schools I'm considering. Super great insight from fellow Asian Americans. Appreciate this, guys. Yeah. Thank you for watching and good
Yeah.
luck to you.
Yeah, also, I wanted to add that, like, I wasn't a part of it, but I wish I had been. The Fordham Law, APALSA, Asian Pacific American Legal Student Association, is like, it's actually a really supportive organization for students. That's what I heard from like other people. Like they were like, "Oh yeah, there are like a lot of like a-holes in Fordham," but like actually like like the people in the Black Students Association, the Hispanic Students Association, the Asian Students Association, they're like really nice, and you can have a lot of support there. And I really regret like not taking advantage of that because actually like the girl that I roomed with, that was my roommate, like the during my part of law school, who was there who had like was living with her boyfriend. She was the president of the Fordham Law Pulsa, and she was like really nice. And when she heard that I was having trouble like with interviews and like getting a job for my 2L year, she actually connected with me with some of her friends, like other Asian American attorneys, to kind of try to help me and give me advice. And and it was really nice. I didn't, end up practicing law, obviously, but I did really appreciate the fact that there were people willing to help. So, yeah, if you go to Fordham, you should look into joining a Pulsa. Yeah.
So, but why didn't you get active with Apalsa then? If it might have like made you feel more comfortable being a law
Well,
student there.
I think it was partly because I just was like, let me see. I was just like really focused on studying. So I didn't really do a lot of law school socializing. And then I think it was also just this fact that I didn't want to be in this law school bubble where, like all the people I knew were from law school. And and I didn't know how like supportive they were until like after the fact. I think like during my
Oh,
3L year, like my last semester, like I was in this kind of like research group where we were talking about like how stressful law school was. And like one of the girls in my group was like, yeah, I heard that these, like the Asian students and Black students and Hispanic Students Association, they're like really supportive and like they really help a lot. And I was like, oh, well, I wish I'd known that earlier.
yeah, you guys gotta, yeah, you have to reach out and get somewhat active. I mean, I don't know if it's really worthwhile to be in a leadership position with these student organizations because I think that's like a real big distraction. But then on the other hand,
Mhm.
you got to go to at least some of the events because you never know if these people will wind up really being great connections for you down the road. If you
Mhm.
need a job or you want to talk to somebody about working at a certain place and pretty
Right.
much all these organizations have mentorship programs where they would hook you up with someone that's supposed to be a mentor and they can share outlines with you. So totally
Mhm.
reach out to different student organizations or ethnic organizations if you go to
Mhm.
law school. Yeah. Well, I mean, do you also feel like you sort of had a bad experience because of your roommate? I mean, that sounds like it would have been so stressful to be a 1L and then you don't get along with your roommate, or I can't remember what exactly she was doing, but it sounded like that was a major distraction for you.
Yeah, well, it was actually okay because it was just like, it was just more that she she just like gave me like 5 days notice that she was leaving. Like I didn't really
Oh,
interact with her a ton when she was living with me. Yeah, so it was okay. It like didn't really distract me from my studies. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
see. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, when this person, yeah, thank you, Mr. Basu, for being here. Yeah, when you talk about poverty law, yeah, I mean I did want to remark about Michelle's comment that she feels like there does need to be more, um, you know,
Hmm.
I mean, we need more attorneys focusing on middle class or lower income types of
Hmm.
clients. But that's the problem is that those are the clients that nobody really wants because they can't pay your bills. I mean, unless you're going to be a legal aid attorney or work for a nonprofit that is able to help people. Otherwise, it's just really tough when you're trying to run a business and people just want to, talk to you for free or they want to talk down your rates and especially when so
Hmm.
many lawyers have a lot of law school debts, then, it's all about the dollars, right? So it becomes like, well, I like helping people, but not to the point where I'm going to give away free services. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly. That's why legal aid is there. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and I feel like at this point in my life, I definitely, I think that, jobs like that, yeah, like your listener was saying that those like, jobs are really for people who want to do it. And, I think at this point in my life, if I went back to law, that's what I would want to do. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm losing my train of thought here.
Oh, no, it's okay because people are asking all sorts of questions. So Paperton asked, can you share your postcard or your card business? Are you still doing your card business?
I'm not. I actually put it on hiatus like about 6 years ago after my son was born.
Oh,
It was called
okay.
Shalene Cards, and
Mhm.
the website was up for a while, but then I think something like weird happened with GoDaddy, and like they corrupted the files, and now they're so the website isn't even showing up, and like they're like telling us we have to pay them for them to fix it, even though they did something that corrupted it in the first place. My husband knows more about the technical details of this stuff, but it was called Shalene Cards, and the Etsy site is still up, even though there's nothing there right now. It's like CHELLELINE .etsy.com. So if you want to see that, yeah. So yeah, it was fun while I was doing it. But yeah, I think after my son was born, I was like, yeah, I don't know, because it was handmade, and it was like a lot of like paper cut collage. So it was like very kind of time consuming work. And I was like, I'm not sure if I will be able to do this with like a newborn like for the next like few years. So yes,
Yeah, I see.
put it on hiatus and then came up with a new business like during that time, so which I'm still working in right
Mhm.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that Rad Dad gift box subscription service that you started?
Right, the Rad Dad
Mhm.
box. Yeah, it's like a gift box for like new dads and their babies. Yeah. I don't know
Oh,
how much
so
time we have left to
oh,
talk
yeah,
about.
well, maybe just real briefly, do you have a website? I'm sure there's a website if people are
Yeah,
interested.
it's raddadbox.com. Yeah, so it's like rad as in RAD, like cool, like
Uh-huh.
raddadbox.com. Yeah.
Okay. So that's
Mhm.
your website, and so, can you tell us real briefly, like, what the concept is? Because really, this whole subscription gift thing is pretty new to me.
Yeah. So it's basically the box is yep, thank you, Judy. Yeah, the box is geared towards new dads and their children, and the idea is to kind of like help dads bond with their babies and also like take care of themselves as well, because as anyone with children knows, like having a newborn or even like an older child can be pretty tiring. So basically every box comes with a dad themed children's book, and then like usually a toy or dad themed onesie for the baby, and the toys kind of like to help the dad and baby bond together. And then there are usually like two items for the dad, like to help him kind of take care of himself and like to give him a little pick me up. And yeah, I came up with the idea when I was pregnant with my son, because I was looking for gifts for my husband to kind of celebrate him becoming a dad.
Oh,
And I
that's
found,
nice.
I kind of stumbled on the world of subscription boxes during my search, and I saw that there were like a lot of boxes for moms and for babies, but none for dads at that time. Actually, I'm still the only subscription box for dads. There are like a lot of companies now that do one-time gift boxes for dads, but the Rad Dad box is still the only one that does a subscription. And so basically it's like you can sign up for like a one-time box or like, a 3 or 6 month subscription. And then we send a box every month to families.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a great idea, to think about fathers, because you're right,
Mhm.
everybody just always celebrates the mom and talks about the mom as if, dad is just off to the side,
Mhm.
And so this is like a really great idea that you were able to pivot and then think of these other entrepreneurial business ideas. But I can't remember, maybe I read somewhere or you've mentioned that you were also doing adjunct teaching now. Is that true?
Yeah. I started it in 2015, so I guess I've been doing that for 7 years now. So
Oh,
I teach a course, one course a semester online, and it's about law and cyberspace.
mhm.
And I teach at with Fort Hays State University in Kansas. Yeah, and so it's like basically it's I guess law as applied to the internet. So, which is like a huge range of law. I remember I told somebody one time that was like internet law, and he was like, "Is there such a thing?" And I was like,
Of
"Well,
course.
there's nothing actually called internet law, but there are a lot of different kinds of laws involved with the internet, like intellectual property, even like employment, contracts. So yeah, that's what I teach.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I
so
have
interesting. Are you teaching law students or college students?
it's college students and like undergrad students, and also like graduate students. Usually, like either like graduate business students or graduate like computer science students, because it's like the classes in this department called informatics, which is in the business school. But there are
Mhm.
also like computer science students there too taking the class. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah, they don't
interesting.
have a law school, so it's not law students.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay, but how did you get the job then?
Well, through nepotism. No, just kidding.
Oh,
Like,
okay, so that's how it works, right? We all
yeah,
knew that. Right.
yeah. No, my husband was working for Fort Hays State University at that time, and they were. He told his supervisor, who was like the department chair, that I had a law degree, and she was like, "Oh, well, I have like a law class she could teach." So yeah, that's how I got hired there, basically. Yeah, and
Mhm.
even though he's not working there anymore, I still am. So yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, so interesting. Okay, but that's cool. I did want to address something because Shantanu Basu mentioned working for legal services and legal aid pay pretty well. I guess it depends on what you mean as in pretty well, because at least around where I am in the South, most of the time the attorneys that work for those types of legal aid or nonprofit legal places, they don't get paid as well anywhere near what attorneys that work for the medium to bigger size firms would earn. I think the starting salary, from what I know around where I am in North Carolina, it would probably be in the 40,000s or maybe 50,000 if you're lucky. So, but it's all relative, right? I mean, I guess it pays better than like working at Target doing cashier work. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's anywhere near 100,000, at least for the ones that I know of, but perhaps the places that are in the higher cost of living places like New York City, maybe some of those attorneys, especially the ones that are supervisors or the executive directors or whatever, I'm sure they're making close to 100,000 or maybe even more. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
also wanted to add, just for anyone considering going into legal aid, I think like if you have law school, if you have like educational debt, like under these programs that Obama initiated, if you work at a nonprofit for like 10 years, then your debt is forgiven after that. So that could be like another, kind of incentive to go into legal aid or some sort of nonprofit law, even if you have a lot of debt. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. But you have to really read the fine print and be sure you do all the paperwork correctly. Because I was talking to a legal aid attorney who mentioned that I guess she's not eligible or something happened where she's
Mhm.
not going to get all her debt forgiven after 10 years, maybe because she had consolidated her loans or some of them were private loans or whatever. So, but
Mhm.
that's something I'm not very familiar with, other than the fact that, you do have to really do all the paperwork correctly and keep all your documentation,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
hopes that.
if it's federal loans, it should be forgiven. I think even the Biden administration was saying, like, because some people were under some sort of wrong repayment plan, but then they forgave their debt anyway recently, because after like, 10 years of service. Yeah. So just in addition. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Congratulations. I'm so glad to hear that you got a good job where you're really helping the people, helping poor people and people in
Yeah,
need. Yeah, that's awesome.
I think it's really rewarding. I think if I went back to law, that's what I would do.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I see. Yeah, I'm sure they can find a lot of, Chinese speakers from all the law schools around New York City or New York in general. Yeah. How
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
No,
cool.
thank you for
Okay.
sharing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much, Michelle. I mean, I really appreciate you being so candid and honest, because a lot of times when lawyers are asked to speak to people, they just have to put on this, like, just like this kind of uppity persona where they act like they're all successful and, making tons
Mhm.
of money and, so happy that they got their law degree and it's a license to print money or whatever. And, we need to hear these like true stories from people who are willing to talk about, what their law school experience was like and really, what was it like looking for jobs and did you hit any roadblocks? Did you have any bumps along the way? And,
Mhm.
these are the stories that a lot of times people just don't want to talk about, or there's no
Yeah.
outlet for people to hear more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry. Here's some. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for
oh,
being here, you
thank
guys.
you.
Here's a question. What was Fordham ranked when you started? Do you know?
It was, 25? Yeah, I think they've
Oh,
dropped in the rankings. I don't know where they
okay.
are now, but I remember, like, when I graduated law school, I think they had dropped to, like, 40, and because I remember when I was working for my law professor after law school, she was talking about how all the faculty were, like, so freaked out that Fordham, like, dropped from to, like, 40 in the rankings,
Mhm.
and I don't know what it is now, but it was 25 when I started. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. And then you have all these other law schools like NYU, Columbia,
Mhm.
Cornell is in New York, and then,
Mhm.
CUNY, what else? Brooklyn Law School, New York Law School. Is there a
Yeah.
John Jay Law School?
I think they have like an institute for criminal justice, but I don't know if they have a law school. I know there's like Cardozo Law School too.
Oh,
That's in
yeah.
Brooklyn. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many law schools, like all in that one vicinity of Manhattan. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
but
they
thank
probably
you.
have people from top law schools in other parts of the country who want to come to New York
Oh, yeah.
too. So,
Yeah, everybody's like flooding to New York City, big law, drawing in all these Ivy Leaguers and people from Stanford and stuff. So, yeah, it's
mhm.
very tough. But I'm glad things ultimately worked out well for you and you're able to make your own schedule as a business owner yourself. And
Mhm.
yeah, thank you for this nice comment that's why you adore this channel because we try to be honest here. I'm not trying to sell stuff or sell my, law school admissions consulting business or my LSAT prep course or, because I don't have
Mhm.
one, but, um, just like to talk to different people who are interesting and willing to talk and share their stories. So I'm always trying to find more guests. So anybody out there, if you're a practicing attorney or you have gone to law school or you're a current law school student, let me know if you guys out there are interested in being guests on future live stream shows. So, Michelle, since it's been well over an hour, yeah, thank you for
Mhm.
taking time out of your busy life to be here on a
Thank
on a
you.
Friday night. Yeah, thank you, Serena. I sent out your fashion glasses that you won from the giveaway yesterday from the Morrisville post office. So hopefully it will find the way to your home. Yeah, for some reason, Serena, your address didn't show up when I tried to use the post office's automated postal machine. So I had to manually type in your address. So I sure hope it gets there, hopefully. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. So
Thank you.
Michelle, why don't you hang on for another minute so I can talk to you privately and we'll say goodbye to
Yeah.
our wonderful viewers out there. Thank you
Sounds
guys.
good. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, take care, everybody. The next guest will also be a very fun, candid person. He's actually a lawyer who became a stand up comedian, so we know he'll be a hoot. But you can go ahead and prepare by watching his sort of viral video about why law school is the worst decision you'll ever make. His name is Eric Cervone, Cervone. So definitely look up Eric Cervone because he's going to be a live stream guest in, I think, less than a week. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So, Mr. Basu, if you want to be a live stream guest, also please drop me a comment and let me know how to reach you. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy. And thank you, everyone, for listening and for your comments and questions.
Sure. Take care. See you guys next time.